The fact that they tell stories with their music isn't even what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to dive deep into the visual storytelling language that My Chemical Romance has used to define their career and how it took them from a band playing basements in New Jersey to being objectively one of the biggest rock bands of the 21st century. Welcome back, everyone. Today, I thought we'd do something a little different. I love movies. I'd say they're probably my number one favorite thing, but tied with movies will always be my love of music. Growing up, I would dig through my dad's record collection and pull out anything that looked interesting and have him play it for me. And then eventually I found my own music to love and I got to share some of that with him. One of those bands was My Chemical Romance. And look, I am in no way, shape, or form wanting to turn this into a music channel. I don't want to deal with that fandom. But as someone that loves movies, it's probably no surprise that I also loved concept albums. If you can tell me a full story while also giving me some of the best music I've ever heard,
I want to go to there.
Of My Chemical Romance's 4 studio albums, 2.5 of them are concept albums. Don't worry, we'll talk about it. But honestly, the fact that they tell stories with their music isn't even what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to dive deep into the visual storytelling language that My Chemical Romance has used to define their career and how it took them from a band playing basements in New Jersey to being objectively one of the biggest rock bands of the 21st century. But before we dive too deep into this video, I do just want to call out that we're currently running a poll to decide what game I play next, or if I should skip a game and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender instead. So please, go vote if you haven't. I'm not going to do a full biography on the band, but here's a very brief overview of My Chemical Romance's career. My Chemical Romance formed in the immediate aftermath of the attacks on September 11th, which singer Gerard Way witnessed from a ferry while commuting into New York from Jersey for his internship at Cartoon Network. Way quickly came up with the concept for the band and wrote the song Skylines and Turnstiles, which is a song that I still think holds up today and has been in their set list as recently as 2022. So Gerard came up with the concept for the band, his brother Mikey, who plays bass, came up with the name, and within a few months they had their full band together. And by 2002, they released their first album, I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. It's a little rough around the edges and definitely isn't their most refined work, but I think the songwriting here is pretty impressive considering how quickly this album came together. Like I said, they still play a lot of these songs live. In fact, when I saw them in 2022, they closed with a song from this album. And while I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love is not a concept album, I do think there are several songs in here that tell great stories, specifically vampires, cubicles, and demolition lovers. A few years later, they followed that album up with 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, my personal favorite. This is the half a concept album I mentioned earlier. Half of this album is a concept album that Gerard Way describes as the story of a man and a woman who are separated by death in a gunfight, and he goes to hell only to realize by the devil telling him that she's still alive. The devil says he can be with her again if he brings the devil the souls of 1,000 evil men, and the man agrees to do it, and so the devil hands him a gun. And this plot has always reminded me vaguely of The Crow. I think specifically the idea of a couple being separated by death, specifically a shooting, and one of them getting the chance to take revenge for what happened to them. But also Gerard has said in interviews that the comic Preacher was a huge inspiration for the story as well, which I can kind of see, I guess. And even the artwork for this album is supposed to resemble a movie poster or like a lobby card, and this is really just the beginning of them exploring more cinematic ideas with their music. Fast forward to 2006, and the band released the album they're most well known for, The Black Parade. This time the band went full concept album and delivered a story about a man dying of cancer and death coming for him in the form of his fondest memory, which in this case was seeing a parade with his dad as a young boy. The band has said that Pink Floyd's The Wall was a big inspiration here, both the album and the movie, which I can totally see. And then in 2010 we got the band's final studio album, for now at least, another full concept album, this time about a group of rebellious rogues living in a post-apocalyptic California in 2019 and battling against an evil corporation ran by Grant Morrison of all people. I think the Danger Days might actually be their strongest concept to date. I love the story's mix of Blade Runner, Mad Max, Akira, and Final Fantasy VII. The band broke up a few years later in 2013 and released a series of songs recorded in 2009 called Conventional Weapons. While technically not a proper studio album, I just wanted to mention it because it rocks and has some of their best songs on it, so make sure you listen to it if you haven't. As for me, I first heard My Chemical Romance in 2004, right when 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge was being released. Thanks to this commercial featuring Joey Southside from the New Jersey hardcore band The Banner, a guy who once made fun of me for having his band's patch sewed onto my jacket. Anyway, I got to see them in 2004 opening for Story of the Year on the Nintendo Fusion Tour, and again that summer on the Vans Warped Tour. After that, they got so big that I couldn't really afford to see them. Flash, I didn't want to see them at big venues anyway because I thought it was way too fucking cool to go see them in an arena. So anyway, in 2022, I saw My Chemical Romance at the Kia Forum Arena, and it fucking rocked. All of this to say that my love for this band has ebbed and flowed throughout their run. I only kinda sorta liked the Black Parade when it came out and didn't really care for Danger Days at all. It wasn't until years later that I went back and really discovered how great these songs are. And again, as someone that loves movies and stories in general, I love what this band has to offer, both in their music and lyrics and in their music videos. Which leads me to the main section of this video. Let's talk about My Chemical Romance's music videos. Okay, so in doing prep for this video, I sat down and watched every single video that My Chemical Romance has released, and I was just impressed with how much love this band shows to the movies and stories that influenced them. We'll get deeper into it, but just to tease it out, we've got them referencing everything from Audition to Rushmore, and that's just the first half of their career. And look, I'm not going to do a full deep dive into each of these, but I will call out a few things from all of their officially released music videos. First up, from I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, we've got the similarly long titled Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us. Jesus, that's a mouthful. Look, these first couple videos are so low budget that they're not really too fun to talk about, but this one is loosely based on the movie Audition, and that's kind of cool. And even though the song and movie are about two completely different things, the song is about a rough mental health patch and breakup for Gerard, while the movie Audition is about a man who sets up a fake casting call to find a potential new wife. However, the actress chosen ends up being a serial killer who can't stand the thought of the main character loving anyone aside from her. I think the similarities here are really just in the emotion and desperation of the song, but the imagery works well with the music, and I think the team did a pretty good job of recreating scenes from Audition for the video, again, especially considering how low budget this is. Next up is Vampires Will Never Hurt You. Again, super low budget. It's pretty clear they were trying to go for a German expressionism thing here, some Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari vibes, but their big mistake here is not having the entire video be in black and white. Being in color loses all of the mystique and expressionism that they were going for, and instead looks like five guys playing in front of the stage setup for a middle school production of some Dracula ripoff or something. But again, this is just the beginning, and we've already seen the band use their knowledge and love of movies to further the image of the band and show what they're about. Next up is the first single from 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, I'm Not Okay. And before we talk about the more well-known version, I have to mention the first version of this video that I saw that's just a generic montage of show footage and them walking around. Oh hey, cool, a KGRG sticker. Shout out to Dead Air Radio. Okay, but the real version of this video is where the band first really starts to dial in their movie influences and use movie storytelling and tropes to help convey the story of their music. This is also the first time the band would work with Mark Webb. They'd work with him on a total of 5 different music videos, and if you're wondering where you've heard the name Mark Webb before, well, he went on to direct movies like 500 Days of Summer, The Amazing Spider-Man, and he's the director for Disney's new Snow White remake, which, if I'm being honest, looks pretty bad, but it's just cool to see this guy went on to have a career making movies because he shows a lot of directing chops throughout his music videos with My Chemical Romance. Anyway, the entire music video is set up to be a movie trailer for a fun, Rushmore-like coming-of-age comedy. It fucking rocks from start to finish, especially because this is the kind of trailer these kinds of movies always had in this era, and they just nail every trope. And it seems like they had the best time filming this video. It does a great job of selling who the band is. They're the outcasts, the weirdos, they're one of us. Next is one of the band's most well-known songs and videos, Helena, which, as far as I can tell, isn't particularly inspired by any one movie, but I would argue that even though it's not paying lip service to any specific movie, it is one of the band's most cinematic music videos. I mean, just look at this fucking thing. It looks better than most of the movies that come out today. Plus, this choreography is absolutely incredible. And I think this video tells a really simple story about a young girl who died and the funeral that was held for her. The thing I've always liked about this video is how different it feels. Sure, other bands have tried similar things over the years, but I don't think any of them have quite captured emo singing in the rain at a funeral the way My Chemical Romance was able to do it. Like, this video is so good that for like a month straight in the 9th grade, my friend and I would go to the computer lab during lunch just to watch this video on their website on a loop. We'd spend the entire lunchtime just watching and being obsessed with everything about it. Next, we've got what is probably the band's most cinematic music video. It's obviously incredibly inspired by Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor, and that's it. It's definitely not influenced by any other World War II movie. Are you all typing in the comments yet? Good. Okay, jokes aside, The Ghost of You is the next music video, and it pays homage to Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan's opening scene taking place during the invasion of Omaha Beach on D-Day. Okay, I'm gonna say something controversial. This is and always has been my least favorite song on this album. No knock against it. It's just kind of slow, and I've always found its placement on the record to break the pacing up too much. Anyway, even though I don't love this song, I fucking love this music video. I mean, it's incredible. Everything from the set design of these USO sets to the costuming to honestly the pretty solid acting we're getting from the band during the beach sequence. It's really strong and tells a really compelling story. There's also this like truly incredible moment where we see all these soldiers dancing, and then slowly they all stop and walk away, and we get this overhead shot that has the water from the beach sequence rush in, and I just think it's a really solid example of storytelling with no dialogue. Okay, moving on. Fast forward to 2006, and the band released their first single for the Black Parade, titled Welcome to the Black Parade. A music video that does its best to capture the entire concept of the album in one music video, showing the main character, the patient, played by the actor and member of Leonardo DiCaprio's Pussy Posse, Lucas Haas, who's dying and being welcomed by the Black Parade into death. This video pays tribute to a lot of silent film, German Expressionism, and like a little Tim Burton too, but Tim Burton is just playing with German Expressionism most of the time anyway, but I digress. And obviously the costuming here is a nod to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's outfits, and I still think they look cool as fuck today. But Welcome to the Black Parade is undeniably a classic in the genre, and honestly a classic music video overall. It does a really great job of capturing the concept of the story that's told in the Black Parade album. One thing about this video I don't really like is the speed ramping that the director Samuel Bayer likes to play with. He also did this in the American Idiot video, and I just don't think it looks very cool. It's kind of distracting and doesn't really add anything to the surrealism. It feels needlessly showy. They followed this up with a video they shot the day after they filmed Welcome to the Black Parade, and it's a really simple performance video with the band performing in front of the float they rode on in the previous video, now broken and burning. This is a simple video, but I do think it captures a lot of emotion from the band. It's not telling a story, but it is selling an emotion. This was apparently a really hard shoot for the band that ended with multiple members injured for various reasons, and I feel like you can feel their exhaustion and frustration oozing through their performances. Alright, next up is I Don't Love You, which honestly this might be the band's most classic style music video aside from the original version of I'm Not Okay. It's a simple black and white video that cuts back and forth between the band playing in a bare room and a simple narrative set in a surreal world where we watch a couple fall in and then out of love. The video features some really cool imagery, but if I'm being honest, I think it's one of the most bland videos in their catalog. The only thing I really liked here is the slow motion footage of instruments and amps exploding, which like doesn't really add anything to the story, it just looks cool. So then the band followed this up with a music video for Teenagers, one of the best songs from the Black Parade. It shows the band performing in a high school gym to teenagers who begin to riot and then take over the stage and tear everything down, which resembles a similar scene from Pink Floyd's The Wall. Even though this is a simple video, I like how it captures this pure raw energy, and it feels like the band playing a small club show or something. It just goes hard. Next up is what I'm going to call my controversial favorite My Chemical Romance song. It's a cover of Bob Dylan's Desolation Row, which was recorded for the soundtrack of the 2009 adaptation of Watchmen, which was a comic that was a big inspiration for Gerard Way and the band overall. Honestly, this video is very similar to the video for Teenagers, just swap out the gym for a club, the teenagers for gang members, and the riot from being caused by teens to being caused by cops. Boom. I just think this song and video fucking rock. I think My Chemical Romance are at their best when they're just a stripped down rock band that played basement shows in New Jersey. And I think that's something that's really important to remember about this band. They didn't come up playing in arenas or big clubs. They didn't even know that would be a possibility when they started. This band started out playing hardcore shows in basements and touring in a 16-passenger van. And touring with bands like American Nightmare, their default is to just play as hard as they fucking can. Alright, that brings us completely out of the Black Parade era and into our final two music videos, which were for the Danger Days tracks Na 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 and Sing. Much like the first two singles from the Black Parade, the first two singles here had music videos that had connecting characters and costumes, and again, they do a great job of capturing the concept of the album and distilling it down into a shorter story. The basic concept follows the Killjoys, a group of outlaws who are being chased down by the evil executive of Better Living Industries. And then later we follow the group as they rescue a little girl from Better Living Industries' massive complex. I said earlier that this album story seems to be mostly inspired by Mad Max, Akira, Blade Runner, and Final Fantasy VII, and I'd say that's true for these music videos as well, except these videos are shot in the style of a classic Star Trek episode, which is so different and weird, and on first look, someone might look at these videos and see low-budget schlock, but I see it as the creative answer to showcasing a massive story like this one in a budget-friendly way. Gerard Way co-directed these videos, and it definitely feels like it has all of his sensibilities. We've even got Grant Morrison, a hero of Gerard, starring in the videos, and he kind of fucking rocks in these too. If I'm being honest, Danger Days is a record that took me years to come around to, but now I think it's one of the strongest in their catalog, primarily because of how different and interesting the concept here is. Gone are the goth versions versions of Sgt. Pepper's, and instead were treated to characters that look like they could have come straight out of Akira. All of this to say that My Chemical Romance is a band that actually managed to bridge their love of movies and comics into their music, and they crafted this incredible legacy of music videos that I think still hold up today, both the songs and the videos themselves. I like that they always approached their music videos as a way to be in conversation with their music. Who the band was on screen all depended on what the song needed them to be. Sometimes you need to be storming the beaches like Saving Private Ryan. Sometimes you need to ride on a float surrounded by the personification of death. Sometimes you get beat up by teenagers on stage. And sometimes you and your buddies have to fight and infiltrate an evil organization in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I think the legacy for My Chemical Romance for a lot of people is their music videos. If you say the name My Chemical Romance to any random millennial, the first thing they'll think of is bleach blonde Gerard and the band on top of the float in Welcome to the Black Parade. It's just iconic imagery, and it's what has made the band not only last, but become bigger and bigger over the years. They were always authentically themselves, and they always asked for their audience to be authentic as well. Plus, these songs are just on another level. Few bands can balance these kind of big anthemic choruses, punk beats, and I feel like this band doesn't get enough credit for how fucking heavy they can get. They've got it all. The band used the medium of music videos to define their legacy. I mean, this summer they're going out on a sold-out tour to celebrate 17 years of the Black Parade. Why 17 years? Who's to say? But I do know this, I've got my tickets. What about you guys? Do you like this band? Did I go too hard in the wrong direction talking about music? Let me know in the comments. I've been Brandon from Born to Rant, and if you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We release new videos every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.